Good evening, I'm Nick Davies and I'm a third year law student. As you can tell, I'm losing my voice, so I apologise. I'm running this year to represent the Students' Guild to ensure that the Students' Guild is actually led by students as well as the university. I've outlined how I want to do this in my manifesto, which I'm hoping that you've all read by now. If not, please do. 2 brief points to highlight for you this evening from my manifesto are employability through volunteering, the opportunity for you to use your degrees whilst you're in study. If you're going out there and helping people all the way through, when you're applying for your job, you can prove that not only have you got a good degree from a good university, but you've also got the relevant experience required to go out there and actually beat your competition. Furthermore, extra for your student fees, the first years will be paying £9,000 next year, you will still be paying £3,000, but you still need to be getting a good quality of service from your university. So free printing credits, or making sure that all the core textbooks are in the library for you all, and all sort of little things that the university should be doing to try and aid your studies.
2 questions, one's a truth and one's a lie. The first one is I once bought a Rolex in Tehran, and the other is I once engaged in a blackjack tournament with the Health Minister of the Gambia in my gap year. You can dwell on that a bit later. But anyway, let's just say I am the only candidate in this room with a proven track record for gaining concessions from the university. In my first year, we campaigned with relatively little help from the Guild to get compensation for the building works. We got 2 payments, first one 32 grand, next one 15 grand, and I continually challenge the university on various matters.
I'm a third year history student as well as the president of the Debating Society. Damien beats me on one thing. I can't honestly say I've been to Tehran before. I do have some different ideas about how to improve the Guild and our relationship with the university and our lot of students. An observation that came across me last year, and I think it's fair to say this year, is that while all of the candidates have the intentions of students at the core of everything they do, and they have different ideas in some respects about how best to do that, I think you're not going to find a massive spectrum of different policy here. You're not going to find wildly different ideas. I think everyone wants very similar things, which is a better lot for students and an improvement, really, in the Guild and the services it provides. The choice then that voters, that students, that we ultimately have to make is who best is in a position to deliver those things. Who do we want to trust with that responsibility for a year? The other recollection I have is in my first year, and it was in the Great Hall when that was still open. And it was a speech by Richard Stern, the then Guild President. And that really, I think, is the one opportunity that the SAB team have to impress upon first years the responsibility and the role that the Guild has in engaging with students and in representing them. And I think you have to elect someone that seizes that opportunity, that really drives up attendance at Guild events, at societies, that really orchestrates a resurgence in student involvement in the Guild.
This is a wonderful university and I absolutely love it, but 40% or whatever our turnout is not 100% of students. We are not engaging with all of our students and representing them to the full, and I believe that it is the Students' Guild's responsibility to do that. One of the most crucial problems that I believe that we have here is a communication issue. Emails and Facebook are not enough for students to engage and feel represented. So many of the students I have been talking to this week are asking what a SAB is. What does the Guild President do? Who are these people? And that is something that we really need to change. I think one of my main ideas on that front is to propose, perhaps controversially, a new communications sabbatical role, which we would put to the student mass to vote on, obviously, because this is a huge thing. But they would lead the media, and they would drive this university in terms of communications, providing students with the means and ability to see through any changes they want.
I'd like to start by outlining some of my main points. Firstly, I want students to be more aware of what is going on behind the scenes. Obviously, one of the main things that's going to be an uprising in the university are questions over where the fees are going, what they're being spent on. I'd like to give transparency to all university expenditure. As well as this, as a few other people have touched on, I want to talk about what the sabbaticals are doing, what the sabbatical officers are doing behind the scenes. I've also spoken to some people this week and previously And they don't know many of the positions of the sabbatical officers, and they definitely don't know who they all are. And I think it's important that people do this. I would really like to encourage the publishment of scrutiny of sabbatical officers through the Guild Council, make sure that students know what they're doing and they're going to be more fulfilled through that. And it also will encourage all the officers to do their job well. I'd also like to make sure I keep regular communication with Exmedia, try and get the president and other sabbatical officers writing regularly an expose so the students recognise their faces, they recognise their names and they know what's going on.
My name is John Williams and I'm a third year sports scientist. I'm a volunteer with RAG. I'm also an active member of most societies and AU clubs. And tonight I'm one of the Guild president. I'm kind of stuck because everyone's kind of spoken about everything I have already, so I'm going to scrap all the script I've done off. I was approached whilst out of Campson this week by a girl who asked, how do you put together a manifesto? And my answer quite simply is, my manifestos are what I want from the Guild, it's what I believe everyone else wants from the Guild. It's what you guys want to have the best time at university. The role of the Guild President is to represent you, your opinions about the university, about the community. It's not about my name, my ego, my personality. It's about how you guys live the best at the university as you can. There are surveys, there are focus groups, there are reports that can help put this manifesto together. But if these surveys were sufficient enough, you wouldn't need a president. The Guild staff are more than capable of interpreting the results. The president is there to try and put this right, to read between the lines, to try and answer the questions that the surveys can't. And if there isn't a survey that's there to answer or to be there as part of the representing the students.
This is mainly to Damien. On the point of safety, what I find concerning is that you have admirable points on how to make people safe on campus, for example lighting, but you completely contradict that by saying cheaper drinks and more cash points, which I mean, I think we can all say that alcohol is something that does make students unsafe.
I don't know. Does alcohol make students unsafe? At the end of the day, I think you delegate yourself. I don't know about you, but I think most people delegate themselves a certain amount that they're going to drink in the night, and that making drinks cheaper means that you're going to have a cheaper night out. Well, that's how I work anyway. And if if the drinks are more expensive, we'll just end up being a more expensive night out. I think we're saving money here, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It's more, not so much cheaper, but it's more along industry standard. Industry standards changed in the last few years, but I think that's important.
I think students are very good at looking after each other. I think if you go on a night out with people, you make sure that your friends get home all right. That said, the Guild has run some initiatives which I think have been very helpful. Attack alarms, for example, and I think it's Gemini taxi service to help students get back in first year so they get a taxi back and pay for it the next day. I'd continue measures like that. It's very sensible, it's very measured. But I think overall it's up to individuals to make sure their friends get back home safely, and I think students are very good at that. I think we look after each other.
Good. I totally agree with Ben. After the incident last year, close to SSB, the Guild acted very appropriately on what they did. They were very efficient. They got the welcome team back in, the volunteers, and they asked them, they did absolutely everything they possibly could. The rape alarms are available up in the advice unit, and if you have got worries and problems, you can actually ask the State Patrol to take you home as first years, and depending on the situation you're in as well, you can get them to take you home second and third years. I've done it myself because I've been in the situation, badly enough, but we don't talk about it. It's the Guild know how to keep people safe, and they did bloody brilliantly, and I believe they carry on producing that next year. Our students will be fine.
Dave?
I haven't actually written anything in my manifesto about cheaper drinks. I don't know if they're actually possible on campus. But one thing that I do think would be good if there was actually more drinking on campus, going with Damien slightly here, it would potentially prevent less drinking off campus. And I'd prefer to have people in that state where they're slightly safer than walking home alone. But going back to what these guys are saying, I do think that people are good at walking each other home, but I do think that the welcome team And when that was re-brought out, SSB was very good at looking after their fellow students, and I'd really like to see that happening more next year if any students are happy to volunteer, just like ECU have been handing out water at the Lemmy with the Love Lemmy campaign. I think that's really good, and student support for each other is the best thing for safety.
Yeah, on the issue of safety, I know the university are already looking into more security cameras, more lighting anyway, so hopefully that's something that's going to be unlocked before we've even started in place for next year. On the drinks point, card machines will not work at the Lemon Grove. It is far too busy on a Saturday night to be spending sort of 5 minutes per person trying to get you to utilise them. On the drinks front, again, we can't afford to do cheaper drinks because that will have to cut funding from other areas across campus. And the other areas of the Guild, we can't afford to remove the funding that's generated from the Lemon Grove, from the RAM, and we need to keep those provisions there. But it may not be ideal to students, but at the same time, sort of the benefits are there for students.
The Guild is a charity, a commercial organisation, and of course a union with over 17,000 members. To that end, there are a lot of rules and regulations about what we can and can't do. With that in mind, a lot of you have mentioned bureaucracy in your manifestos. Could you just explain for the audience what bureaucracy is and how you intend to cut it out?
Jen?
Okay, so the bureaucracy I am taking issue with is in terms of societies. So the squash, absolute nightmare, societies lost out on memberships, things like that. That is like an issue of organisation in terms of that sense of bureaucracy. Then there's the issue of societies and their financial autonomy and the events planning process. There should be, I think of help with the forum and the new Guild hub. It should stop trips having to go up and down to the finance office. Dan, who do I see? When do I do this? How do I get support on this? But there should be a clear system in place, not just keep making it up. It's not clear to students at the moment, and that's what I want to improve on in terms of bureaucracy.
David?
Yeah, I mean, in my manifesto as well, I mentioned more autonomy given to not only societies but all committees for their various events, but still under the necessary supervision, because obviously many hall committees, especially, will not have had the relevant experience to really kind of manage especially large-scale events without help from people who've done these things before. Bureaucracy, I mean, it's one of those kind of vague terms. I mean, at the end of the day, it means far too much red tape, paperwork, etc., etc. I believe that it can be reduced to some measure, and that a lot of these rules and regulations are at the human discretion. And I think a level of common sense needs to be applied to make things run a little bit more smoothly.
On the same issue, I do agree that you do need to have a lot of research. I mean, I've talked to many Guild members, many university staff, to make sure that my manifesto was fully achievable. And I think that's something that a lot of the candidates here have done today. You do need to make sure that you are representing the student body. So however much you know about a topic, you need to go that one step further, ensuring that your ideas are also representing students' ideas. And there is no point in going into a meeting without the backing of the student body, because in the end, that is what the Guild is. The Guild is there to represent you, the students. So making sure that what you guys want is what's coming through in the meetings, that's going to be the main priority.
Ben? Well, I think the word representative, understandably, is used quite a lot, but let's think exactly about what that implies. This is the person who you come to if you have a problem. That person then takes that issue wherever it needs to go, wherever they need to take it to fix it. They're the person you speak to. They're the person who argues for you, who gets what you want, who helps you with a problem that you might have. So it's absolutely critical that the candidate that is elected in each of the staff positions is someone who can do that, someone who can represent you, and ultimately someone who you can trust to represent you and articulate exactly it is that you want and that you need to improve university life or an aspect of the Guild or your course that you're not happy with. Eric?
Firstly, I believe I can represent the university, and I also really want to, which I think is essential. I do feel I researched everything on my manifesto, and anything that I don't believe 100% can be done, I've said I will lobby for or I will attempt to get. And I'm not making promises, but I'm making a promise that I will try my very best to do that. I do feel that a lot of candidates have done this, but I feel that when I have said I'm going to do something, I've said how I'm going to do something. And I think this is really important in showing how people have looked at what they're going to do, and in showing you that what you're actually voting for, rather than saying I'm going to vote for more volunteering time, I've said how you're going to vote for it, and that gives them an understanding of what they're doing, rather than they may get confused as to what someone is placing forward. So I want them to know exactly what I'm going to give them in advance. I also think that as much as research is important, you do a lot of that on the job, and the most important thing is that you really want it and that you're willing to research it once you get the position.
Good.
I did a lot of research on my manifesto. I wasn't sure beforehand exactly what I wanted, because I see it from very different perspectives. I'm not a full main sighter myself from St Luke's, so I see it from all the outside perspectives as well. I'm trying to see it from the guild perspective by working with the guild. I spoke to all the chief executives up on the top corridor, and just went in with ideas. They told me what was realistic, what wasn't realistic, and then I put the realistic points to my friends who are all students, and tried to find exactly what everyone wants as guild members. To represent the students is what we SAVs are there for, and therefore you need to be able to trust us, and we need to be able to put across exactly what you want to the university and on national level to the NUS.
Look at what I've done in the past, I would say as well, because that is valid experience. But right now, campaigns officer, I'm organising a week of national speakers to come to Exeter and organise with incorporating all different societies who've been invited to take part in this. I think we should get them down to Exeter, we need to boost Exeter to help get students involved. So that's something is my little sort of pet project at the moment, and that should be coming to you at the end of this term or next term. Then I'm also a member of University Singers. I salsa, I sail, I fit in everything I can. I love meeting new people, new students, and in all of these roles, I'm meeting people, I'm taking in what they've said. I'm working out ways to better represent them and put them in contact with who they need to be. As campaigns officer, it's quite often a job of building relations between motivated students and the girls. So good experience.
Ben. One of the best things that I've really enjoyed about being the president of the Debating Society is getting to work with different student groups and different societies, which I think we've done really well this year. And so we quite regularly involve different societies in our events, from, I don't know, Model United Nations to Expression to XTV. Expose regularly cover our events. We try and involve as many different societies as possible, which has put me in a good position to know how things work within the Guild, what different societies need, the different types of events, socials, speakers events that different societies run. And I think that's valuable experience. Over the next few weeks as well, I'm also involved somewhat in Diversity Week, helping promote the event. I wish I could be involved more. Unfortunately, also as a third-year history student, I have the fun of a dissertation looming over me. But I am trying to help publicise that as much as possible. I think it's a very worthwhile week, and I'd encourage everyone to get involved and have a look at the event.